Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 4th of March, comes to you from London. And I start by just looking at the Nasdaq. We were down quite sharply yesterday, down 2.5%. We're really starting to see tech coming under a lot of pressure. We're seeing the volatility in the last couple of weeks really showing through here, and we are seeing potentially this trend, if we look on the weekly chart, starting to potentially break, maybe even a little mini head and shoulders here on the daily chart, which would project about that height further down, so we would see targets below the cloud. And of course the point and figure charts are giving us targets 11.7, let's say 12% lower from here, and a mini target some 5.5% lower. This is my long term, my medium term, and my short term view of the market. So my main concern at the moment is the Nasdaq failing, and we're seeing a sea of red on the screen. Equities globally selling off as a result of that move last night. And more worryingly, the futures are not bouncing. So it looks like more of the same today. So we are seeing equity markets falling back. Taking a look at currencies now, we'll go back to equity markets in a minute, and we'll look at some of the tech stocks individually at the end of the video. Looking at the dollar, holding steady, having risen last week, holding steady, so short-term bullishness still remains, but work to do on that medium and longer-term chart to get back into bullish territory. The euro hovering around the 120 mark, so we're seeing here that's still bearish against that stronger dollar. The dollar against the yen is sitting above 107, so we're seeing here a real reversal of fortunes, and this is really the first signs that the dollar might be undergoing a recovery. Sterling sitting at 139.30 this morning, so just struggling to get back above that 140 level, that stronger dollar having an impact, but holding its strength against the euro, sitting at 115.70, so bullish on all three time frames. So just really starting to wander out into bullish territory on the long-term time frame. Bitcoin holding the $50,000 level, just still bullish on all three time frames. The recovery underway here, so looking pretty good there. The S&P 500 index was down 1.3% yesterday, so we're bearish on that short-term chart, so we are seeing moves here. Not so clear on the long-term targets here, but medium-term we've got about 4% downside, 6% not yet activated. So the S&P 500 not looking as bearish as the Nasdaq, which we looked at the start. So the Nasdaq really just is the big issue at the moment. We're seeing tech weakness. Looking at the futures, we're down 0.2% on the S&P future, and down just over 0.25% on the E-mini, so on the Nasdaq. So it does suggest we're going to open lower. Stocks just not having a good week, and we're seeing here on the weekly chart we really have had 4 weeks really of negative moves there, and that's showing up here on the daily. The VIX volatility is up to 26, 27 level, so the fear index rising again. We're seeing a lot of volatility here, and so the market is fearful again. The FTSE future had a good day yesterday off the back of the UK budget, but down 0.4% today on the future. And looking at the cash market in Germany, down just 0.5%. So markets really selling off on the back of that US sell-off last night. The CAC Quarant is looking a little bit stronger. And if we look at Asian markets, we've got Japan down 1%. Just short-term bearish, medium and long-term still bullish. The Hang Seng had a very strong day yesterday, but today it's fallen back, given up most of the gains that it made. So we are overall seeing pretty big moves here, this big bearish engulfing candle after that dramatic run. So the Hang Seng is hitting resistance. Looking at the Chinese market, down 2% as well, turning short-term bearish now. So we are just seeing equities globally having a pretty tough time this week. And looking at the Sensex in India, down 0.2%, and the Aussie market also down just under 1%. So really struggling there too. Taking a look at gold, turned pretty bearish below this key 1764 level, and we're teetering along the bottom. Key thing is, will we hold 1700? We've got a target to 1676, and on the medium term chart we have got targets much lower, 1622. That's a further 5% lower, so we might have to pull back all the way to this support level, with coming through on the price but not yet on the lagging line. We did that again in 2018 when we came through on the price but not on the lagging line. So we're still long-term bullish, but medium and short-term gold is not looking as good, and silver we're seeing is 0.61%, so down. So it's also just breaking lower with downside targets. So precious metals not having a great time at the moment. A lot of talk about, in fact, just a quick look at copper, down 2%. So we're just seeing a move down there, but still looking stellar on the charts. We're pulling back, activating a 7% downside target, but if we make new highs, that's 50% further upside, so that's something to already watch. Looking at US bond yields, we're down 1% on the Treasury yield, on the 10-year, so sitting at 1.46%, still looking very strong on the trend. And if we look at 30-year yields, down this morning, but again holding bullish trends and clearly wandering into bullish territory, so looking very strong there. We'll take a look at the tech majors just after a quick look at the energy mix. Brent Crude pushing higher again this morning, just struggling to get back above the cloud on that short term. We do have an upside target of 66.30 for Brent, but I've talked before about the lack of longer term upside targets, so anything that we're seeing at the moment is very short-term targets. We don't have any clear long-term upside targets, so that is just a slight concern for Brent Crude. We are seeing on WTI as well, we've got a little upside target here to some 3.8% higher, and we are starting to wander into territory. The trend is holding basically, but you'll have to watch those 1-minute charts if you're trading Brent. If you're trading crude oil. US nat gas is sitting pretty steady at 282. So it's just really stuck at this level, and we see here sideways movement. Have been in a downtrend, we're now just very much in the sideways trend. Coal was our call for the week. We felt coal was one of the best looking charts, and we see here coal looking pretty strong to the upside. So we've got a target to 72.10, 71.60. Again, we've talked about the fact that there is a shortage of longer term clients. Emissions, we put out a report yesterday to clients on emissions with the long term targets for the year. Some pretty big upside targets, not showing through on these charts. These are the shorter term charts, but the long term targets are really very significant. So watch for a break to new highs there. Taking a look at gas markets, we're pretty bearish on gas at the moment. We're up this morning 2% on MBP, but the trend is down. The same with TTF. We're bearish below 17 euros, and that's where we are at the moment. Downside targets pushing lower. Lots of downside targets lower, so we are seeing gas markets pushing lower. Looking at the seasonal gas market, we're also pushing lower here. Target some 2.6% lower, and lots of downside targets on the 60-minute chart, just telling us 4, 5, 7% lower. Looks like we'll have another bad week next week in gas. Taking a look at power, we've got German power down slightly, really stuck in this 51, 53 range. And if we take a look at Nordic power, that's actually bucking the trend a little bit higher. One market we did talk about the start of the week was UK power. That's just sinking lower, down 49.15. We've got this target to 46.60. That's where we've been talking. That's where we're looking to go next. Keep an eye on the 1-minute OTC targets. That's going to be your key. Coming back to the tech stocks, we've got Apple. So this is obviously the major, the behemoth, if you like, of technical stocks, starting to just wander below the cloud on the daily chart. So looking pretty poor there. We've got a target of 7% lower and 6% lower on the long-term charts. Short term, we haven't seen this. This will produce a downside target, this move, but it's not done yet. So we're looking at 7% downside there. Remembering the Nasdaq was some 14% lower. We're seeing here on Amazon, we've got targets of 3 and 6% lower. This massive one here, 22%. We've got one at 15%. That's consistent. So we are just seeing a fall, and this one will produce another downside target. So we are seeing moves there. Alphabet, Google, as was, is looking lower too, 7% lower, and this will produce another downside target. And if we look at Microsoft, we're also pushing lower here, 10% lower on that medium-term chart. A lot of these targets will start to emerge as we see the price action build and we get a relief rally and then a move lower. And looking at Facebook, we've got some downside targets here, 14%, 13%. That's consistent with the Nasdaq selling off 14%. So we are seeing tech stocks now starting to really show their hand, and that might lead the markets overall lower. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.